Hello everybody and welcome to the very first vlog of our new series. I am working on a couple of different series this year in 2025. That is still so crazy to say that it's 2025. But yeah, I'm working on a couple of different series and the two big ones are the Purge series, which we have already done the entire Owlcrate series for, and up next is Owlcrate, which I'm currently working on. And then the second series is arguably the most important one, reading my book box books as I get them. It is really hard to say that. I still haven't decided what I want to name the series, but yeah, that is what I am currently working on, and that's what this video is. This is the very first episode, episode 1, that is coming out in January 2025, and it is reading my December 2024 books. So that's kind of how it's gonna work, is the month that it's released, it's the books that I'm getting from the prior month. So for this very first episode 1, I am so excited about it. We ended up getting, because I'm also only reading the books that I get. This is kind of the idea, is to make me skip books and make me decide if I like who is picking the books and potentially canceling some book subscriptions by the end of the year, which would be crazy. So we have our little stack right here. We have the Owlcrate Young Adult. This is the Fairyloot edition from last year, but this is the Owlcrate Adult book. I don't have the Owlcrate edition because I actually have already finished this video, and I did get rid of my Owlcrate copy because I did not like it and I did not like the edges on it. So then we have a Language of Dragons, which is that Young Adult Fairyloot? I think it's Young Adult Fairyloot, Adult Fairyloot, The Courting of Bristol Keats, and the Fairyloot Romantasy book, Heavenly Bodies. So What the Woods Took, The Teller of Small Fortunes, A Language of Dragons, The Courting of Bristol Keats, and Heavenly Bodies. And that is what we're going to be reading in this video. So hopefully the idea is to physically actually read all of these. This is not a purge video. This is not like, oh, I'm kind of enjoying it, so I'm gonna DNF it because I'm not interested in it. This is like, if I'm even slightly enjoying it, the idea is to finish the book and to get an actual idea of what I feel about these book boxes. Now, if I don't like the book, I am gonna DNF it. I am so happy that I am in this era of DNFing. I was actually thinking about changing my channel name to DNF Queen, but I decided not to because I feel like that creates a little bit of a stigma around the channel that I'm like DNFing everything, which, you know, I have a high rate of DNF, so it would kind of make sense, but I like it just being Kimberly Reed. So right now we're sticking with that, but this is the DNF channel. So if I'm not enjoying it, I'm gonna DNF it. And that'll give me an idea if I do need to start canceling these subscription boxes because they're a waste of money. I believe what we're going to start with is What the Woods Took, and I started with this one because, like I said, I'm already actually finished with this video. Started this one because I actually had an arc of this one, so I was able to start this in December, early December, because of that arc, thank goodness. Because this video, it's 5 books. That's a lot of books to read. Like, most people don't read 5 books in a month. Like, the average person does not do that. So yeah, it was super nice being able to start this one early. But yeah, this is What the Woods Took. This is a young adult horror book about a group of teenagers that are sent to this like wilderness therapy group because they are all troubled teenagers. And of course, they're in the woods, and it's not really run by people who are super competent, so things start to happen and there are creepy things in the woods. I mean, it literally says What the Woods Took. So anyway, this is gonna be our very first book that we get into. So anyway, let's get right into the reading and I'll let you know all my thoughts about all the books that we're gonna be reading. So hopefully you guys enjoy the series. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos in this series, because again, one's gonna be coming out, hopefully, fingers crossed, every month, depending on what stuff that I get. So yeah, let's hope that this series goes well, and let's get right into reading What the Woods Took. Okay, I'm in a little bit of a different environment. I'm actually at my in-laws' house and I'm about to go to sleep, but I wanted to very quickly update because it is the 28th of December and I am almost finished. I'm 66% of the way in through our first book of the December books. We did end up starting with the Owlcrate Young Adult book. I'm going to intro all this stuff like later. This is actually the first clip that I'm filming for this new vlog series, but I'm going to have like a whole intro clip where I talk about more about the book that we're reading. This is actually the second clip you're seeing, but it's the first one for me. I figured I would update you really quickly because I am 66% of the way through. If I don't update you now, I'll probably be finished with the book and be like, oh, I'm done. So this is definitely young adult horror slash like exploration of feelings and emotional abuse and potentially some physical abuse, although it's really not talked about. That's more kind of just a little bit alluded to currently. I do think that's going to come up more later. It's definitely hinted at, but it is definitely this like emotional journey, and I'm enjoying it. I actually am enjoying it so far. It is such a quick, like insanely fast read. I do think that 66% of the way in, I should feel more of an emotional connection to the characters. I'm just like not there with any of the characters because we're purposefully kind of like hiding every single character's past. And I do think that we really need to know more about some people to care about them more, because I'm there, but I'm not at the same time. Like, these characters are interesting, but I don't really have any feelings if anything happens to them at this point. Like, if a character dies, I'm gonna be like, okay, like I'm not gonna really care that much. So that is a major like downer, but it is at least like highly entertaining right now, and it's nothing super unique. Like, it's getting lost in the woods and there's like an unknown thing and you can't trust the people around you. So that's been done like 1,000 times, but it's done and it is done in an interesting way here. So I'm having a good time. I don't think it's anything unique or really amazing, but I'm at least having a good time. So it is highly likely I will get close to finishing this. I will not finish this until the 1st of January because I do not want to have to talk about this in my December wrap up. So I hate doing that. I hate finishing a book and then it being for a video like later. And so I think I'm gonna have to figure out what to do about that, because I'm gonna have to start reading some of these books in December because I have so much stuff to read for this and my Owlcrate purge project. So I'm gonna have to figure something out about it, but I'll probably like read the whole thing and then wait to read the final chapter or the final page on the first day of January or midnight on New Year's Eve or something. That's kind of where I'm at, just so I don't have to talk about it. So I don't have to be like, oh, I can't tell you what I rated it, but I did read it this month, because that annoys me. But I'm gonna probably have to end up doing that sometimes. So anyway, that's my update. I'm going to continue reading. I am having a good time, so that is fantastic. No DNFing of this book, definitely. And yeah, we're going to continue on. I think, oh gosh, I really need to start the Courting of Bristol Keats because it's massive and I already have it. And I don't have to wait to unbox things because I can't unbox things for another 2 days. So I have the Tell Small Fortunes and the Courting of Bristol Keats from last month that I know are going to be in boxes this month. So I really need to start those two soon because I can start them a little bit early. But otherwise, I should be unboxing and I should have everything by Tuesday, which is great because then I can like really get into these books and then also start my Owlcrate purge project. I got so much stuff, guys. I'm gonna be so overwhelmed. Some of these purge projects might get pushed back a month or two. Like, I was planning on doing one every single month, but I'm thinking that's not gonna be the case. Like, so I was originally gonna have one out in January, but I am thinking that it might be out like the beginning of February instead. It just depends how quickly I read these books. So I'm not gonna rush it. I'm not gonna rush anything. We're gonna have fun reading. I'm not gonna push something to the point where I'm like, oh, let me just DNF it because it's easier that way. I do not want to do that. So we're gonna take our time. And yeah, so we're continuing What the Woods Took. Is that what it's called? I don't remember. I don't remember what it's called, but it's something like that. Okay, I have our first major update because I remember how I said I wasn't gonna finish What the Woods Took. I definitely finished it. I don't know what past me was thinking. This is an argument that I have all the time that you guys have seen. Past me says and does a lot of things that future me really does not agree with. Like, most of my TBR game was past me, and yeah, a lot of future me does not agree with that. The prompts specifically. And this is a similar situation. Past me was like, oh, I can easily just not read the final chapter of this book that I couldn't put down. No, absolutely not. Funny thing is, I really didn't need to read the final chapter. Like, I definitely could have gotten away with not reading it because it's very much a little epilogue. I thought something like crazy was gonna happen, but it really was just like an epilogue. And so I really didn't need to read it, but I was like, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it because I did feel like potentially something was gonna happen, but it didn't. Anyway, I finished What the Woods Took. I still don't have a physical copy of it. That is still the last book box that I'm waiting for. It's supposed to come today. So I'm really excited to film that unboxing today, which really sucks because I was very much overdue for a little mustache waxing, and the wax did not cooperate last night. So if you've never had to wax anything, especially with these stupid strips, I just need to get like real wax. I'm afraid of it. I've been doing this for, I mean, my whole life, doing this since middle school because I have very dark hair, very light skin. And so yesterday, you can see it got me. It got me. Sometimes, like, I don't know what it is, but like if you've never waxed before, you have to apply the wax strip. You have to like warm it up, apply the wax strip, kind of wait a couple seconds, and then hold and rip. And it's always like a hype up. I'm always like, so anyway, when I got to this side, this was fine because I do it in 2 sections. This is fine. This piece, I don't know what happened, but sometimes it like, because you want it to like solidify a little bit before you rip. And this side, it's like it got too warm. And so it stayed gloopy. And so when I pulled, it didn't come off. It just kind of like this. And so it pulls your lip with it. And it took a little bit of skin. So yeah, I was very mad last night. I was so mad last night. And my husband, when I came out of the bathroom, he knew something went wrong because it was like super red. And he was like, oh, oh. And I was like, yeah, don't talk to me right now. don't talk to me right now. So that's what I was doing yesterday. That's why you can see that thing. That's going to be there for a while. It's going to be there for a while. So anyway, yeah, finish What the Woods Took. I am giving it, I love how that was a side tangent. I don't know why I told that story, but it's because it's bothering me. Oh, because I'm going to do an unboxing later and that's going to be in there. So super happy about that. I might put a little bit of makeup just because I'm staring at it in the viewfinder. I feel like no one else is going to really stare at it, but I'm staring at it because it hurts. So I'm just looking at it. So to keep myself from looking at it, I might put some makeup over it. But yeah, so I'm really excited for that to come today. And I will show you guys the book once I get it. But I did finish What the Woods Took. I had an arc of it, so it was really easy for me to get a copy of it. And yeah, I'm giving it a 3-star. I'm giving it a 3-star. I think it was just a interesting, fast-paced young adult horror. And I thought it was kind of cool because I actually went into the book knowing nothing about it. So because when I request stuff, I look into it like thoroughly and I'm like, oh, this sounds really, really good. And then I completely forgot about it by the time I read it because I do try to read my arcs close to their release date. So I couldn't remember anything about it. So everything was like a surprise to me, which was actually really, really fun. Yeah, I gave it a 3-star. It just didn't have like the emotional depth that I think it thought it had. So it definitely was kind of focusing on family and family drama and trauma from families and handling kids who have these attitude problems, I guess. I don't know, but it's basically about this survival camp where you send troubled youths, troubled teenagers. And so pretty much all the parents were at their final straw, which is different for every parent. And it's just a group of like 5 teenagers. It's like 5 or 6 teenagers and 2 young adults taking them through this 50-day hike. And I was sitting there at the beginning and I was like, this is a terrible idea. This is a terrible idea. Like, oh my gosh. It sounds better than a lot of those camps because a lot of those camps abuse children. And it's a terrible, most of the time they're terrible places. Like there's so many documentaries about places like this. It's hard to fully judge them though, because again, number one, I am not a parent. I'm not a parent. I was a teenager, but I was a very well-behaved teenager. My parents got very lucky. But some kids just, I mean, they act out for certain reasons. And if you get them therapy, if it still doesn't work, like there are times where you're like, I feel like I have no option and my kid is going to hurt themselves. What do I do? And so I can get that. I get why parents look for these alternatives to like just sitting them at home and punishing them because it's not doing anything. So I can see why a parent would try something like this, but it's definitely like you're trusting someone you don't know with your child. And in this case, in the woods for 50 days? Are you kidding me? No, like I don't think I could do that. But again, I've never gotten to that point where I feel like I have to do something like that because again, I also don't have kids. So it's like, it's hard to like, because that was the first thing that these kids were super mad at their parents for sending them here. So I'm like, ah, what do I do? Because I know some of them are terrible, but then I know parents have to make really, really hard decisions sometimes. So that was an interesting dynamic to kind of fight with yourself about when you're reading this book. And then to also kind of hear like the backstory and why they were sent there, which was one of the problems. One of the problems is that I don't feel like we got enough backstory about all of the characters and why they were sent to this wilderness retreat thing. Like, even one of our main characters, it followed Ollie and Devin, and I feel like we understood Devin's pretty well. Devin, we understood fully as a character. I feel like I read the book and I still don't really understand Ollie and his situation or really his character. Like, his character just felt, I don't know. Like, I read Ollie, and I don't know if it's because of his name. I read him as like a 10-year-old, but he was definitely like 16, 17, and that confused me a lot while I was reading it. And so I just feel like I didn't gain any emotional connection to any of the characters, maybe a little bit to Devin, but generally when you found out like this thing happened, it was supposed to have this like emotional, like big emotional impact on you. And I kind of was just like, okay. And I kind of knew it was coming. It was kind of obvious, which again, you can still have an emotional impact even if something is obvious. Like when it happens finally, you're like, oh, and then it's like a sad or happy or something. Nothing in this book. I did not feel any amount of relief, of sadness, of happiness with our characters. And that is a big reason it got only a 3-star, because I need to have that emotional connection in a book like this, especially because the point of this book really is the emotional connection and what these kids are going through. So that definitely is a letdown. I am undecided if I'm keeping this book. I don't know what this one looks like at all. So for me, if this book is gorgeous and I think it looks really, really cool, I'll keep it because a 3-star is very middle of the road. If I'm even somewhat about it, it'll probably go. So I'll let you guys know when I actually get it today, if I'm going to keep it or not. So that is the first book down. That was What the Woods Took, a very interesting choice for December because it was taking place in summer and hiking. So I thought that was a bit odd. I didn't feel like it was the best choice for a December winter book. I thought it was kind of odd, actually. So next, I did start the next book, so I would have kind of like an intro update, and that is The Teller of Small Fortunes. So this is my Fairyloot copy, because again, I have not opened any of the December books yet, book boxes. Again, that is all today. I'm so excited. But I am actually DNFing this one. I tried really hard with this one, and I'm even more angry because I have 2 copies of it, and I'm really mad about it. But this is so cozy fantasy. This is cozy fantasy to the point where I am just not interested whatsoever, and I do not like how the story is told. So I actually got to like 38%, and at 10 pages I ended up switching to audiobook because normally that is how I read my cozy fantasy, and that's the only way I can get through them because my mind does not like to read cozy fantasy except for like Emily Wilds. But Emily Wilds, the more I read these other cozy fantasies, the more I don't really think Emily Wilds is cozy fantasy. It's more of like an adventure fantasy than cozy fantasy. This is everything I don't like in a book, really. This is entirely traveling. So this is following a traveling fortune teller of small fortunes. Like, she only tells small fortunes. Kind of. Like, I feel like she just told one that was kind of like, that's kind of a big deal. It was like unintentionally a big deal. But every chapter so far has been in a different location with like a different set of characters. Like, I feel like she just gained her semi-permanent party members, like 2 new people, but I don't care. Like, I don't care. And again, every chapter is like her meeting different people and learning their stories and that kind of, it feels like a series of short stories. And I do not like short story collections. Like, that is just not what I read. Like, I've tried so many. I love novellas, but to me, short stories are just too short and I just don't enjoy the whatever. It's just not my thing, and this is what this feels like. Hello! You guys are getting a little bit of a behind the scenes thing right now. I just finished filming the December book box thing, last book box of December, and it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy that this is the last book unboxing of 2024. And I wanted to give you guys kind of an update because the last video clip, depending on what I do with it, I'm still undecided what I'm going to do with it, but either it's going to say I DNF'd Teller Small Fortunes, or it's just going to like literally just cut off before I say that, because I went on like a 30-minute discussion about how I was DNFing Teller Small Fortunes, and then I didn't. I didn't do that. So I have an update about that book. But I also wanted to show you all the books that we got because I finally have the books for this video. So first of all, let's see, the ones that I haven't read, because I feel like I'm going to focus less on those. A Language of Dragons, which may be what we're reading next because this looks really cool. It kind of depends. I feel like I'm going to do like a try a chapter thing almost because I kind of want to read Heavenly Bodies, but I also kind of want to read The Courting of Bristol Keats. I don't know. We have some really good options and they're all massive. The first 2 books that I read were the smallest, and of course I left the last 3 as the biggest ones. So we have Language of Dragons, which is awesome. We have The Courting of Bristol Keats, which is so much lighter than the Owlcrate one, and this one is the one that I will be reading in this vlog, because obviously I want to read the ones that are like, you know, the ones that came in December. But it's just so much lighter. Like there's no other option than to read this one over the other one. Like if it was switched, I'd be reading whatever the lighter one was. So it is so much lighter. That Owlcrate one is ridiculous. I also like this cover. A lot of people didn't like this cover, but I really like this cover. And then we have Heavenly Bodies, which is probably the prettiest book in the unboxing. It's stunning. It's beautiful. I don't have my light on, but trust me, it's much brighter. Like it looks very drab here, but this is stunning. I love this one. So to the books that I have, or the book that I have read, because I haven't finished Tell Her Small Fortunes yet, we have What the Woods Took. It's perfect. It's perfect. I'm gonna keep it. This was so well thought out. This is a stunning design for what this book was. I'm really sad I didn't have this to hold up while I was reading it. Yeah, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. And I am so impressed. So they chose this scene, which is arguably the most important scene in the whole book, besides like, you know, the ending. But it is arguably the most important scene where everything happens while being innocuous at the same time. I love it. That's whoever chose the designs like really understood this book. So I love that. I'm very happy with this edition and I'm definitely keeping it. So we have our first keep of the video. And then the one that I'm currently reading is our little pocket size, The Teller of Small Fortunes. I don't like it. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. It is pretty much just like this intense, mediocre non-feeling that I have towards this book. And so it's either gonna get like a 2 or a 3. It's probably just gonna get like a 2. It's probably a 2.5 or a 3, depending on what happens at the end. But I have like zero interest or care about any of the characters or the plot in this book because there really is like no plot. Like there's like an overarching plot, but generally in this book we are following our main character who is a teller of small fortunes, and she is Shin, and a lot of people where she's at do not like Shin, and so she's treated incredibly badly, but she gets this like band of found family type of thing going on. Unfortunately, I just don't feel the vibe with the found family. I don't feel it. It's kind of how I was with Legends and Lattes. But I think this is even not as good as Legends and Lattes because I just don't care about the characters in this at all. And every single chapter is like a new adventure almost, which I don't like. It's almost like a weird mini short story collection. It is starting to get more cohesive towards the end, but like even like this big scene where they were going on this like adventure, it was within 1 chapter and that's it. And after that chapter was done, that was it. Like we talked about it, but the whole adventure, and it was supposed to be such a huge thing, condensed to 1 chapter. It was so strange. So I just don't like how this is told. I think I called it a warm cup of tea in my video, and it is, but I don't like reading that. I like enjoying that while watching something fun. I'm just so bored. I'm so impossibly bored, but there's arguably nothing wrong with this book. That's why it's such a weird one and why I was feeling so weird about DNFing it. So I am just powering through it with the audiobook. It's not gonna get a 1. It's not getting a 4. It's not getting a 5. So it's probably gonna be either a 2.5 or a 3. Like, and I can already tell. I only have like 4 chapters left, and it's so, this book exists. It exists. I can see some people absolutely loving this book. But yeah, and I also don't think I'm keeping this copy. I probably am keeping the Fairyloot one because I do actually really like the copy, and that copy is making me like the book more. So I feel like I should keep it. And I'm gonna have my own little cozy fantasy selection, like little bookshelf or something that I'll put these on. But I don't think I'm gonna keep the Owlcrate one because my copy is just like super, like look at that. It's so not centered that it drives me nuts. And that's like literally even sideways. I don't love the design for this. I feel like the person who designed this is the best design. This is stunning. This is perfection for what the book is, but I don't feel like the front, and I don't feel like the person who chose like the phoenix being this like focal point of the designs on here, to me doesn't make sense. Like if you read the book, the phoenix is such a small part of this book. I mean, it is minuscule. Maybe it's more important later, but 70% in is where you do the phoenix stuff. It's just such a small part of this book that I feel like it's basically the opposite would happen. The scene that was chosen in this was so carefully thought about and perfect, and it's like they just went for the most exciting part of the book to be the artwork. So I think what we're gonna do, because I'm gonna finish that and then immediately probably start the next book because they're so chunky. What did I do? What did I do? We might have to try a chapter between these two. Oh, I feel like, oh man, that sounds really good. Both of these sound really, really good. Ooh. Okay, I don't know. When I come back for an update, I'll let you guys know which one I end up picking because both of these sound really phenomenal. Both things that I really like. So one of these we will be picking up. It may look familiar yet again from the beginning and the end of the video because we are jumping in really quickly. I think I deleted a clip in the middle of my thoughts about the finishing The Teller's Small Fortunes because I cannot find where I tell you guys what I rated it except for, you know, at the end. So we're jumping in here really fast to quickly talk about it. I pretty much already said everything in that previous clip. I'm pretty sure in the deleted clip I just come on here and say, hey, I finished the book. It was a 3-star. Like I said before, this book just exists. There's nothing particularly special about it. It is definitely my least favorite cozy fantasy that I have finished because there are cozy fantasies that I have DNF'd. I do wish that I had just DNF'd this because I did not get anything from this except for a copy. I guess like the biggest thing is I actually get to keep a copy of this and it was a 3-star. I did get a little bit out of it. I did enjoy some of the characters. I personally would not continue in a series if this is going to continue and be like them traveling more, because that's what it kind of seems like, is we potentially could be going into a series. So this is just a plain 3-star. I definitely think people who like cozy fantasy will enjoy this, but otherwise it's too cozy. Nothing happens. And I feel like I just don't understand the world super well, and I want to. I hate that. As like a fantasy reader, I just want to understand the worlds better, and when you give me a cozy fantasy where there's no type of world building, I'm not going to enjoy it that much. So 3-star. I definitely had to read it on audiobook. I would not have finished it if I just physically read it, but I am glad that I finished it. And basically the only other update that you're missing is I started A Language of Dragons next after finishing this, and it's definitely a significantly different vibe. The writing I already like better at the very beginning, like 10% into the book. It's an interesting story that's like dark academia, kind of. It's like, it's supposed to be Babel meets Fourth Wing, which I think is kind of an odd mix of things to put together. But it's following our main character Vivian, and her family gets arrested for conspiring with the rebels, and she ends up having to work in a government job to help out her family and stuff like that. So that's kind of like all we know about early on in the book, and that the world is dragons are seen as subservient to humans, and there's like a caste system of first class, second class, and third class, where third class citizens are literally have like no rights. And so it's just kind of, that's like the basics of that book. So let's get into the first update of this book, me actually reading it in real time instead of one of these random updates. I have no idea where this clip went. Like, I really wish I knew what happened to it. I really desperately did not want to DNF anything for this video. I really was planning to read every single thing for these videos, but A Language of Dragons, this is not it. I despise this book. I despise it. This is so bad. I feel like this is going to be one of those books. I'm calling it now. It's got like 757 readings on Goodreads right now, and it's like a 4.11. I think the more people who read this, the lower this one is going to get, because this arguably is really bad. This is so oh my gosh. I hate our main character, and that's really what this comes down to, is me not being able to absolutely stand the main character, and that on top of a bunch of other things really ruins this book. So let's kind of go through what A Language of Dragons is, because I don't know if I can fully explain it to you guys because this has so many plot holes and weird writing and weird decision making that I legitimately don't understand what this book was really going for and aiming for. So we're following our main character, Vivian, and she wants to be a linguist for dragons. We are in this 1920s like alternate world in the middle of 2 world wars, but the world wars are relating to like dragons versus humans, and we're in Britannia, and there's this peace agreement between the dragons and the humans where the dragons are basically subservient to the humans, and a lot of dragons are helping keep their own people down. And this is where it stops making sense. Because literally one dragon was able to burn like half of the city. And for some reason, like, you're telling me that the dragons are okay with being subservient and have allowed this to happen. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes less than 0 sense, to be honest. And you have like a corrupt, evil dragon queen, but why? But why? Like, there's no purpose for any of the dragons to work with the humans at all. Like less than 0 purpose. And then you have Vivian in there, but she accidentally starts a war and basically gets blackmailed into joining this secret government job where she's going to be translating something. And it just makes no sense. Like, it cracked me up because it's like they're talking about how they don't come across dragons that often, but one of them is like, oh, but you go and talk to the dragon that works at the bank. And I am literally just picturing this like the size of 4 elephants dragon working in a bank behind the like as a teller. What? It literally makes no sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm sure there's smaller ones, but that's what I'm picturing because those are like the only dragons that are talked about, are like the massive ones. And the world just doesn't make any sense. And it's completely lost me because I can't stand that. But what really took me out is the romance is, I guess this guy's the romance. I already can't stand him either. But I guess he is a priest in training. It absolutely killed me. That killed me. And the main character was like, aren't priests just like old wrinkly men? And I was like, you are not this stupid. You supposedly know 9 different dragon languages, or I guess what was it? 6 different dragon languages and 3 human languages. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And everything is like, I feel like the characters are playing dumb with everything. That way the author can explain things. So like I guess I do have to take it with like a grain of salt, because it is in the 1920s, so probably not, radar and echolocation might not have been widely known, but it's just one of those things, like, I feel like it doesn't need to be explained the way that it's explained, because you feel like a toddler, and it's like, oh, what is this echolocation that you talk about? And then it's like a whole chapter about echolocation and like the basics of it. And then it was like, oh, what's a seminarian? And it's like, oh my gosh. And that's the whole book is. The whole book is just our main character being just like not understanding anything that's going on, but somehow also is a genius, which is driving me nuts. She's also arguably a bad person, so there's also that. So I just have no interest in continuing this. I don't like the story. I don't like the weird how dragons are in this. This made dragons lame. That's this book. This book made dragons so lame that I could care less about what the dragons are doing. Yeah. This is apparently Babel meets Fourth Wing. Neither. I don't see either. There's some linguistics things for Babel fans, but it's not elevated like Babel is. There's so many plot holes and nothing makes sense. And yeah, no, Babel fans will not like this, I don't think. And then again, Fourth Wing is cool because the dragons are cool and the romance is good. And again, neither. The dragons are super lame in this, and they make no sense. They absolutely make no sense. So yeah, we're DNFing this one, unfortunately, at 144 pages. I really tried, and I think I would have finished this if it was a standalone, but it is going to be a series, so I'm not finishing this to then be like, oh, do I have to read another book? So we are DNFing this. So this is not going well. We have a 3-star, a 3-star, and now DNF. I'm going to move on to The Courting of Bristol Keats and hope it's better. It has short chapters, so I'm thinking that's going to be good for my brain right now. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We have an update that I don't want to give. I really, really don't want to give. These are not supposed to be purge videos. Like the purpose of these videos are not purge videos. But I'm kind of glad I'm doing this because it's actually making me skip book boxes because I am DNFing The Courting of Bristol Keats. This is awful. I would actually rather finish A Language of Dragons over this one, and I have so much beef with Language of Dragons. It's like trying too hard, and I can't stand that. I think a lot of people might like this writing, but I don't think people are going to generally like the plot or how it's done either, because not only is the writing not to my taste. We're gonna say the writing's not bad. Okay. I'm just mad at the writing because I personally don't like it. I think the writing is too try hard. I don't enjoy this style of writing. It is very, again, detached writing style where I already am just like so do not care about anything that's happening and I don't care about the characters. And then on top of that, the chapters are so jarring. I normally love short chapters, but that's if the main character stays the main character for like 3 chapters and then we can switch points of view and then we can switch back. But when you have like 3 pages per chapter and each chapter switches between the points of view that quickly, it is so jarring and confusing. Also, I'm just in general confused about this world. Like I am so confused and I don't like feeling confused, especially early on in a book. And I am not reading a 550 page book that I already hate on page 40. And maybe the plot gets better, but the writing for me is not going to get better. And I looked through it and it's still doing the weird hopping from chapter to chapter kind of thing. And it's janky. It is so jarring. So I actually went and looked at some reviews to be like, okay, maybe reading some reviews, it gets better and I am just judging it too quickly. So I looked on Goodreads. It's already at a 3.73 and it's just getting lower. It's like getting lower daily. And then I went to look up some of the reviews and basically the reviews say the book stays janky the whole time. And then it says like the romance is super weird and uncomfortable and doesn't make a lot of sense and it's very confusing. And then I listened to, I can't remember if it's Kari or Carrie Can Read, and she does a whole review about this book and she didn't like it either. And so I'm just like, I don't want to waste my time with this. And it's a duology. I'd have to get through another one of these if I finish reading this book. So unfortunately, this is going to be a DNF at 40 pages. I did not like this whatsoever. And I have 2 copies of it. And they're so pretty. Both of them are stunning. These are probably my favorite edges like ever. I love these. They're so gorgeous. Oh man, I'm so mad. But the good thing about that is it is making me skip things. So I just went on and I skipped Fairyloot's February Romantasy box, and I'm going to skip Fairyloot's adult box. I've already tried a book from that author and it is just not my type of writing style. So if I do want to end up reading that book in the adult Fairyloot February subscription, I will check it out at the library first, and if I end up liking it, then I'll see if I can find a copy of it. I'm skipping the Romantasy because I'm just not interested in the Romantasy. It is my last skip. So I may be canceling that subscription soon. As of right now, I'm not impressed with the Romantasy subscription for Fairyloot, so I don't even know if I'll join back. I might just buy the copies that I want because so far none of them have been hard to get. I am also skipping Owlcrate's February box because of the issues with that author, but also just because I'm not interested in the book at all. Like if you take the author out of the equation for the February box for Owlcrate, I still just don't want to read that book, and I don't like any of the fandoms really that are in that box because I either haven't read them or I'm just not excited about it. So I am skipping Owlcrate in February as well. So all we'll be getting in February is the Fairyloot Young Adults, the Owlcrate Adult, and the Owlcrate Young Adult. As of right now, I need to double check because I don't know what Owlcrate's books are in February because I could skip one of those too. That could also be a skip. But that being said, we are DNFing The Courting of Bristol Keats. I can't believe this. This video is actually going terribly. But again, this is like waking me up about book boxes, which is really nice, and it's making me more picky because I hate wasting money. I hate wasting money. DNFing this, I have to get rid of both of my copies, which is super fun. And we have only 1 book left because what was the recap? We have 2 3 stars and 2 DNFs. This is so not going well. I was so excited for this video because I was like, yes, we're gonna be doing this and we're gonna be reading our books and I'm so excited. And it's just not been what I wanted it to be. And again, it's feeling like the Purge videos. So actually the Purge Owlcrate is going better than this is, which is like, thank goodness, because I'm enjoying that one at least. But we are on to our final book, and that is Heavenly Bodies. And this is the Fairyloot Romantasy book. This is the one I was like least excited about reading this month. So now I'm like, oh crap. We're relying on the Romantasy box, which I'm thinking about canceling. So let's hope for better things. Honestly, I just want a silly, goofy, simple, romantic fantasy that will grab my attention and I don't have to think too hard. That's really what I want right now, because The Courting of Bristol Keats literally broke part of my brain. It was so just like, it was too much. It was just too much. So I just want a silly, goofy time. Silly, goofy time with Heavenly Bodies. And I love this cover, so if I have to get rid of it, I will be throwing things. I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out, man. I'm tapping out. It's 3 hours later. I hate this. Oh no. I feel like this is just proving that the Fairyloot Romantic subscription is 100% not for me. I have not liked a single Romantasy book from the Fairyloot Romantasy series that I've read so far, which is not great, and I am out of skips, so I think I'm gonna end up canceling it, depending on what next month's book is. And I'm kind of sad because now I wish I had skipped the Starlight Air, I think the Starlit Air? Is that what's coming in January? I think that's what's coming in January. But I'm like, I didn't skip that one because I think it's got like trials in it and stuff. So I'm hoping. But this is not good. This is pretty much what you would expect from I looked this up. Apparently this came out in 2022 and then it was picked up, I think, by traditional publishers and is now coming out on January 14th. And this is what I'm talking about a book that is, I've talked about this so much. I've talked about this so many times, but this is the example of a book that was either I don't know if it was self-published or indie published, but I know it was on KU. So either way, this was not edited to the extent that it needed to be edited. And then a traditional publisher picked it up, and you would think that they would go through the book with a fine-tooth comb, edit it, and then re-release it with the updated things, which is pretty much what they did with Lore Olympus. If you read the original comic of Lore Olympus, it is heavily edited, actually. There are scenes that are moved, there are scenes that are cut, because I actually originally read it on Webtoon, and then I saw that it came out like in an actual graphic novel format, and there are definitely things that have been changed, and I don't understand why publishers aren't doing that with other things that are like indie published or self-published, because they need to be edited. And this is nothing on the author themselves, because great job getting your book published, but everyone needs help. Like, when you write a paper, you edit it so much yourself, but you can hand it to a friend and they'll go through it and be like, oh no, this needs to change, this needs to change, this didn't make any sense, because you're the one writing it. Some stuff that makes sense to you may not make sense to other people. So the idea about getting a traditional publisher is you have so many eyes that are able to see and look at these books and say, oh yeah, this doesn't work, and you change it. But that's not happening. That's not what's happening right now in the publishing industry. There are so many books that are being shoved out into the world because they think of this like, it's supposed to be this like hype, and oh my gosh, it's got all this hype, TikTok hype, etc. So they're just like trying to just shovel these books out to the mass population without them being properly vetted and edited. And this is 100% an example of this. This is not a good book. This is just like, I hate it. Like the situation surrounding this, because this is why Romantasy books get a bad rap. This is 100% the reason, because this is a beautiful book that was taken from indie or self-published, not edited, pushed out into the world before it needed to be, and it's just bad. It is poorly written. The characters are poorly written. There's literally mistakes in this book, and there's awkward phrases, and there's awkward things happening. There is no real world building whatsoever in this, and I get like Romantasy, it's supposed to be romance first, but the world has to make sense, and you have to understand what's going on. And I am 65 pages into this book, and I don't understand a single thing really about this world at all, because we are just thrown into immediately her being kidnapped and meeting the romantic interest. And we're already doing like training montage 65 pages in. At 65 pages into a fantasy, even romantasy, I expect still to be getting the world building that the reader needs to really understand the story. I'm still expecting her to be seeing him from across a room, not interacting with him yet even, or she doesn't know who he is and they're interacting in a way that is not like flirtatious or interested in each other yet, because that's so unrealistic that it takes you out of the story. And also, this man is a whiny loser. Like, he is. Like, he's such a little bitch. Like, I'm sorry, but I do not like the main character. I'm sure he gets better later on, maybe, but he is a little bitch, and I cannot stand him. Like, one of the first scenes is him, like, whining to his dad about having to work with her, and I'm just like, kill me right now. And just everything he says is so cringy. Everything she does is so cringy, and it's just, it is so poorly written. It really is. I'm shocked. I am shocked that this exists like this, because I think this has a really good idea behind it. Like, her kingdom is this like kingdom of darkness and this is the light kingdom, but like you even have this map filled with all these other kingdoms, and you're like, so what are all the other kingdoms like? What is everything? You're not telling us anything about this world. You've just told us that there are stars that correspond to the different countries, and one of the stars is pissed at her because of a prophecy, and that's it. And we know, like, her parents were killed, but we don't, like, for a reason, but we don't know the reason. We don't know what's going on. We don't know anything. We don't get why the countries really actually hate each other that much. There's nothing like that explained. So we have nothing to grasp onto with this book. I think out of all the books in this pile, this one is the worst, just because the writing is so bad. So when you look at these, so this is a decent young adult horror book. There's nothing super spectacular about it. It is fine. It is a 3-star. It is paced well. It doesn't try to do too much. I wish it had been a bit more unique, a bit more character building, but generally it is decent and entertaining. The Teller of Small Fortunes, not my cup of tea. It is a 3-star. The characters were interesting. Fans of cozy fantasy will really like this book. So there is a group of people that are like, yes, this is well written, it is interesting, the characters are interesting, there's no mistakes, there's no plot holes really. This is a fine book. It's just not my genre. If I like cozy fantasy, this would be like 5-star probably. We have Language of Dragons. This is a bad book. However, it is still basically written well. Like, it's not making my eyes bleed while I'm reading it. I do think there's a ton of problems with the plot, but at least it's like, it feels like it was edited. It was just the actual subject material wasn't edited, but I feel like I understood this world at least a little better than this one. So you can tell this one at least had like an attempt at editing. Still wasn't very good editing, but at least there was like an obvious attempt at it. This one, the writing is really good. It is very overly pretentious. I do again think this is similar to Language of Dragons, where it was edited for like grammar and stuff, but was not edited for content, which again is something that editors I feel like aren't doing anymore. Like, content is like whatever. We don't care what's in the book as long as you spell there, and there correctly. I don't care about the content. So this is one that needed significant editing, but again, the writing, it's not my personal writing style, but that's because it's like the detached style that some people really like. I personally do not like, but it's written well. You can tell it was edited. This one, I could not tell you this was edited. This feels like somebody glanced over it really fast and said, yeah, it's good. Let's just shove it out the door. That's literally what this feels like. So this is arguably the worst because of the lack of obvious editing that every book should go through. So this is probably my worst book in this list. I think it is reverse ordering when I read them. It just got worse and worse. It just got worse and worse. What the Woods Took is obviously my favorite, just because young adult horror is much more my style than a cozy fantasy, and I just thought The Teller of Small Fortunes was just significantly boring, which is why it goes under, but they are both 3 stars. Then we have A Language of Dragons, because I did get the farthest in it at 140 pages, 150 pages, but it was just, oh my god. The plot was so bad. It made absolutely no sense. And then we have The Courting of Bristol Keats, which I think I would like the book if it was a different writing style. It was a different writing style, and it wasn't 2 points of view the way that it was done. Like, why do you have 2 points of view that are switching every 2 pages? That makes absolutely no sense. And like the weird time jumps later on and stuff, absolutely not. And then we have Heavenly Bodies last because it's really just bad. There is no world, there's no world building. It makes absolutely no sense. And it just felt like there was no thought put into the book whatsoever. More thought was put into the design of the book than the actual plot of the book. So this is a massive bust. I am holding out hope because this is the last month of 2024 still. These are not 2025 books. These are 2024 books. So I'm hoping that when we start reading our January books, which I do have some arcs of them, so I actually can start early compared to when I'm getting them. We're getting quite a few. We are getting a lot. But then in February, I think we're only getting like 3 if I can manage to skip Owlcrate because the site is still broken and it's telling me my next book that I'm getting is March, even though it should be February. I'm very confused. So yeah, so we're getting Evernight, Owlcrate, Owlcrate. Luckily, one of the Owlcrates and Owlcrates are a double, so we'll just put that back down to 2. Another Owlcrate because we're getting 2 Owlcrates. And then all 3 Fairyloot. So that's 6 books. We'll be reading 6. I'm getting 7, but we're reading 6 because of a duplicate. I'm really hoping it goes better because this was not at all how I wanted this video to go. So I am majorly bummed out. Fairyloot completely whiffed. Like absolutely whiffed because they were so bad. And I did not finish a single one. I'm so disappointed. Anyway, that is the video. I am so sorry that this very first episode turned almost into a purge video, kind of. That was not the intention of this. I really did try. I tried so hard to read these books, but I am not forcing myself through a 500-page pile of poop, okay? That's just not happening. So yeah, I'm really sorry about that, but these are my opinions, and I am gonna be honest with my opinions about these books. So, oh man. And a lot of you rely on me. I've noticed that in a lot of recent book unboxings. I noticed a lot of you guys don't get the book boxes and you're like, I'm waiting for your opinion on these books. So my opinion is that these were shite. these were shite. So if you're looking to get any of these, I would probably save your money, to be honest, unless you like specifically really like something. Like if you love cozy fantasy, definitely try A Teller's Small Fortunes. If you love young adult horror, definitely try What the Woods Took. If you want something even remotely similar to Babel, maybe try Language of Dragons. I still don't think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna think it's a big step down from Babel. But if you're just that obsessed with Babel that you want something about linguistics, you can try Language of Dragons. Courting of Bristol Keats, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. I don't know who to recommend that one to. And then Heavenly Bodies, I would, number one, wait for it to come out on KU. I bet it's going to be out on KU on January the 14th, since it was originally, and I think the second book's also going to be coming out on KU. But I guess if you just are there for vibes and you don't really care about the plot, and you really just want to read something for like only the romance sections in a fantasy book, then you should try Heavenly Bodies, because I mean, it does have like a 3.99 with 10,000 ratings on Goodreads, which I personally do not understand that. But if that's your type of vibe, that is awesome for you, and I would say try Heavenly Bodies. But for me, I need a little bit more plot and background for my stories, for my fantasy stories. So anyway, that is everything that I have for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am sorry that it ended up being this way, but this is my honest opinions about things. I am now going to, well, I gotta finish the Owlcrate vlog. We're working on the Purge video. It actually is going a lot better than this video, which is hilarious. So I am going to be working on that, but after I'm finished that, for the rest of January, I'm reading 5-star predictions, potentially just cute romance books, because I need to vibe, and this was not a vibe. So anyway, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe so you miss any future content. We are doing one of these videos every month. We are also doing new releases every month again. I have missed those videos so much, so we're starting that up again. Purge videos, hopefully once a month, but we'll see. It kind of just depends how many books I'm reading. Make sure you comment down below if you plan on reading any of these. If you enjoyed it, please tell me you enjoyed some of these. Please, please, please tell me you enjoyed some of these so that I'm not super sad for everybody who's getting these books. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.